So happy that you're here with us today to continue our live wedding vendor series. Today we have Shawn Fisher with us of Shawn Fisher Productions.
Hello, everybody. How you
And
doing?
very excited to have him here with us today. We're very lucky. A big question a lot of people have is what is it like working with a videographer on a wedding day? When we are newer to wedding photography and videography, there's lots of questions about what it's like working with somebody else on the team because it's a big part of the day and we're all trying to get our job done. So we have, like I said, today we have Shawn Fisher of Shawn Fisher Productions. Hi, Shawn. Can you give us a little bit of a background about where you came from and how you got to where you are today?
Sure. Quick background. Born and raised in Lancaster County area. So Amish town is my hometown. And I got started in video when I was 18. I started originally volunteering at my church because I thought it looked cool. And then did a lot more stuff there, kind of learned the ropes, and then was able to start my own company in 2014. And because I had somebody knew I did video and recommended me do their friend's wedding. I had no idea what I was doing and decided to do it. I went to the rehearsal because I was so nervous and I wanted to see the whole scope of how everything looked. And the couple was so nice. They invited me to dinner with everybody. And so then that morning, I got up at sunrise and I was there at sunrise because I was like, sunrise shots look the best. So I got there at the venue super early and I got there, did the wedding, learned a lot, made mistakes, did good things, bad things. And thankfully, that couple knew everybody on the face of the planet and was gracious enough to recommend me. And so I was able to just kind of organically grow from there.
That's really cool. That's
Yeah.
that's wonderful the way that worked out for you.
I feel very blessed, very fortunate.
So they recommended you to a lot of other people and you just started working a lot in that sense.
Yeah, so I felt like I had somewhat of a unique scenario where like literally they knew everybody on the planet. And so then my first year, I got I think I did 23 weddings in my first year.
What? Are you
Yeah,
serious?
yeah. So I had a crazy, I don't know if it was intentional, but how it all kind of worked out ended up really benefiting me. I learned a lot of great lessons. So I got connected. I ended up two ladies that were worked at a hair salon ended up hiring me within my first year. And those connections alone catapulted me to a different place because getting two women at a hair salon that have all the ladies that come in and chat and discuss everything, they recommended me like crazy. I remember I went into that hair salon in my first year, and all of the hair salon ladies, at least 7 to 10 of them, all knew my name. They all told me to my face what their favorite videos of mine were. They all had different videos that were their favorite, and so that connection was huge to get things going. So that was kind of how things like really catapulted, honestly, for me.
And that wasn't just pure luck. I mean, you have a big
Sure,
network
sure.
of people that you
Yeah.
are in communication with. You're part of your church and you
Mhm.
just have lots of friends and things, which really helps too.
Yes, 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 for sure. So having a lot of friends, but I always felt like that connection as far as like even from a principal standpoint, like knowing knowing where your clientele is can be incredibly valuable. So if you're able to put yourself in the space where your clientele is, like that's huge. And for me, that was a salon where that's where your primary wedding clientele is going to be. And so that was huge for me. And then like from there, I started doing some online marketing to really kind of get things going the year afterwards. And that's when I felt like I was able to get some really good steam and really good kind of get the engine moving to get people to really want to hire me and move forward. So
Yeah, I know you've never told me that story before about the salon.
yep.
That's really cool,
Mhm.
especially as a man too. Getting those female connections as a
Mhm.
man in the business. That was a
Yes.
really cool thing that happened.
Yeah. So for my third, so I did two weddings the summer of 2014. And I was like, I got to get this thing going. How do I get it started? So I had a friend that I had worked with previously that I knew was getting married and I didn't know when. I just remembered that she had posted like 5 months ago that she was getting married in like 6 months. And so I was like, I'm gonna check her Facebook and I'm gonna see because she had said how soon she's getting married. And so I'm like, I'm gonna look and I'm gonna do the math and I'm gonna reach out and see if I could do her wedding. So I reached out on a Monday morning. I reached out. She responded back to me and said, "Hey, I actually am getting married this Saturday, but everybody that I've talked to was way out of my price range. And she's like, can we meet this afternoon to talk about it? So we met that afternoon. She hired me. And from that was the connection that really kind of helped me move things in the right direction and move things
Wow.
further. So it was me, like, I really was like, I'm going to reach out to her and see if she needs video services. This is what I did for my first wedding. Take a look at it. This is what I can do. And that's kind of part of how things got really going.
It's funny how things start and to where
Yeah,
you are
it
now.
really is. It really is. Yeah.
So now it's not even just you. So tell me about your team and like tell us about like how many weddings you do a year, all the things now.
Sure. So so yeah, 2014 is when things started. Uh, I obviously had another part-time job at the time that I started this, and
What did
so
you do? I don't even know what you used to do.
I was on staff at my church. I oversaw our multimedia and video production. So I was making videos for my church, and so a year after it started, I realized that this was becoming a little bit bigger than me, and so I was like, I need some help on this editing front, a good bit. So I hired someone a year after I started. Um, just for it might be a personality thing, might be myself. Some people want to do all their own edits. My structure and philosophy has always been I want to work with people. I'm energized in a room full of people. If I'm by myself at my house editing all day, that is distraction central. But having someone else that I can work with and someone else that we're motivated together is huge for me. So I hired someone about a year in full time as like a full-time editor. This is what we're doing. And I learned what it meant to be a leader and to have people under you and what that looks like and how you do that, good ways to do it, not bad ways to do it, how to communicate clearly. I learned all the things firsthand. I made plenty of mistakes. My first year, I made so many mistakes. I feel so fortunate that people still hire me and that I still have the thing going. But thankfully, I was able to figure a couple things out. Thankfully, had a really good guy that I knew that was interested in video, and I taught him everything I knew. Still with me to this day, and so
And that's
I have
Daniel, right? Is it
that's
Daniel?
Dan. Yes,
Yeah.
that's
Okay.
Dan. Yeah.
We all love
So
Daniel.
we love Dan. We love Dan, and now he's like a huge part. Like he legit almost edits, has a huge part editing almost all the weddings. Like he's so creative and so talented, and so it's good. So we hired him in 2015 as a full-time editor, and then 2016 I jumped in full time. So I was still part time, and I was like, I'm gonna quit my other job. I need to do this full time. 2016, kept Dan on, and then started to hire out some other editors here and there just to kind of test the waters and feel things out. And then so moving forward, this is 9 years now. We do probably 50 to 80 weddings a year, I'd say. And then we edit most of it all in house, and then I might edit out or subcontract out some other stuff. We have some really strong training systems as well. So over time, we've developed literally step-by-step guides and video series. This is how we edit. If you want to edit for us, this is what it looks like. So we can really systematize and try to get it to a flow where it's exactly what it needs to be. For me to edit everything myself would just be quite the task. And then the emails there, know what I'm talking about.
I
You know
do.
how there's so many things and you got the emails and all this stuff. So I having an editor, having an editing team has been huge for me to grow the business, most definitely.
Most definitely. For me, it's the emailing that like I take forever emailing.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
for me, like the first person, and I have an editor also, and
Yeah.
I actually hired them at about the same time. But if I
Yeah.
had to give up one, I would give up the editor before I would give up Teresa, who responds to emails and writes timelines and does all the communication back and forth with the clients via email. I'm great with people face to face, and I love being with people,
Yeah.
but the constant email back and forth is what kills me. Yeah, but
Well,
it takes time to grow, like
yeah.
developing these systems isn't something that just overnight happens. It's a matter of making a mistake and saying, oh, well, that didn't go well. How do we
Yeah.
fix it? And
Yeah.
figuring out a way to fix it and then systematizing it all along the way.
And I remember, I even think this might be helpful for some people. So on my fourth wedding, so what we do is we deliver like a highlight video, and then we also deliver the full ceremony reception. So on my fourth wedding, the client came back to me and they were like, "Hey, we don't like the way the ceremony reception video looks." And as someone who is hearing it, I was like, "Oh, I worked hard on that. Like, I spent a lot of time on that." But I think learning to, okay, so what didn't they like and how can I improve on it? And also responding promptly and not avoiding conflict.
Mm.
Learning to respond promptly when someone has something that might be more negative or you're not sure about is huge. I cannot tell you how many times I hear from videographers like, oh, they wanted this change or they wanted this to happen and they weren't sure about this. And then you waited a week or two to respond. That does not send a good message. And so that was huge for me, learning those, those skills and that. And so for now, myself, we talk about communication. Megan, you might say, Shawn, this is a terrible strategy. The first thing I do in the morning is I look at my email and I knock out all my emails. That's the first thing I do. It's like this bog in my head that like I
Yes.
have to get through that to do my other tasks because I know
Yes.
that my people need the strong communication. They do.
I agree. I 100% agree. And all of the systems, processes, workflow stuff will tell you do not look at your email first thing in the morning. But I feel like you're right. It needs to get done. People need responses right away. And then if I accidentally glance at it and just like, oh, well, I'm not going to get to my email until my email time later in the day, I can't
It's
get
in
that out
there.
of my head. It's,
It's
yeah,
in
it's
there.
stuck
Yeah.
in my
Unless you
head.
solve the
I'm
problem,
I'm writing the
it's
email in
staying
my
there.
head all day long. I'm writing
Yeah.
the email and I can't. So I just need to get it done, get it knocked out, and then leave the space for creativity later.
Mhm.
So
I
I
could
I
not agree more.
same. I check my email early in the morning and then I get to it as soon as possible in the day. And then I'll check it later in the day too. So I try not to have it open while I'm
Mhm.
trying to edit or doing the creative
Yes,
things.
yes.
And
Answer it
then,
all and then shut it off
yes.
for a little bit because otherwise you will get nothing done.
Yes. So on the topic of responding to a negative or like something that might be perceived as a negative, or a client just has a concern, or like, I've had, like my mom has wrinkles and she was concerned and she was wondering if you could it's easy to just be like, oh, well, don't they know how much time that takes? And that's not
Mhm.
what I do. It's not part of what they paid for, blah, blah, blah. But they're just asking. They don't know
Mhm.
what the process is. They don't know how long it takes you to do it. They're just making an ask, and it's
Yep,
okay.
yep.
So, like you said, responding promptly and with a kind heart and just an open mind, and just being very, very kind about it. With yes, absolutely, I totally understand that. I have some of those issues myself too, and I would want somebody to do that. And I always say respond yes with a boundary is usually
Yeah,
my
that's
biggest.
smart. I like that. I'm gonna write. Can I write that down?
Please write it
That's
down.
good.
So it's yes with a boundary. So
Yeah.
I recently had a wedding where somebody wore something to the entire day because they show up into the ceremony, and it was rather promiscuous and like it wasn't what the couple would have wanted their guests wearing. And she sat front and center at the ceremony, right on the aisle. And all night long, everyone was talking about what this woman was wearing. And so I got an ask email of, is there any way you can edit her out of every photo?
Yeah. Oh boy.
Yeah, that was a big oh boy moment where I
Yeah.
was like, okay,
Yeah.
how do I respond to this? Because number one, it's pretty impossible because she was in a fluorescent pink dress
Mhm.
on the aisle
Yep.
at the ceremony.
Yep.
So it was just saying, hey, absolutely, I can do that for you. I might not be able to take her out of every image, but I'll do my very best. Can you give me 10 images that are super important to you that I can do my best on working on getting those out? If I can't, I can give you recommendations on where to take them to do, a more Photoshop edit that I'm not
Yeah.
capable of, aka I don't have time for,
Yeah. That's a
Um,
great solution. That's really well done.
yeah, so I gave her the option of sending me 10 images that she wanted me to work on. And then after that, it was like, ridiculous. I forget I don't even remember what I quoted her. It might have been like $20 an hour or $20 an image or something like
Yeah.
that for like
Yeah.
any photo after that. Cause she was asking for hundreds to be done.
Uh-huh.
So I was like, sure, I can do that for this, I'll
Yeah.
do this many for free. And then, so it was a good
But I
work.
think that's really smart the way you did that in that you did so people always want to feel like they're getting a deal.
Yeah.
And so like the fact that you were willing to do some made them feel like they were winning as well.
Right.
So
They got
if you
something.
want the big thing, here's how I win. And not like it's saying a win or loss, but like in a way, I feel like that was really smart the way you did that.
Thank you.
And I feel like I will sometimes. So our policy when I communicate this up front, I would say that I save myself on a lot of the beforehand communication. I even say in my pitch, like, if you get the video back and you're not happy with it, or you want shots taken out, or you want something different, we will change it for free, because we genuinely want you to be happy with what you walk away with. Like, that's our heart. We don't want the stigma of your day to have a bad memory because of your videographer. We want, you to be happy with what you have. And so there are times when I get small emails that'll be change this, tweak this. Now, when I say that, we also have a lot of upfront communication to make sure that we communicated on the same page, to make sure that we're both, guaranteed of what's happening. But I also just think like that customer service that you provided and you showcased, giving a little bit, but if you want so much, here's what that looks like. I just thinking having that conversation in a nice tone, and maybe even in some circumstances that might look like not responding in the instant. Take a couple minutes, think about it, let yourself, just like cool down a little bit, because potentially there might be some emotions charged with it, and then respond kindly and graciously.
Yeah, absolutely. You want to respond rather than react to a question.
Yes, yes, most definitely.
So do you only do weddings?
No, so I would say like 70% of what we do is weddings, and then 30% is for businesses, brands. We do a lot in the healthcare arena, food, like a lot of virtual cooking stuff. Lancaster County agriculture farms are huge. We do a lot, I'd say, in those spectrums.
Yeah, a lot of us know you as Shawn Fisher Productions
I
wedding
know, I know.
videographer.
I'm trying to build the commercial brand. It's just that there's time and effort devoted to that as well.
You don't have the salon ladies to help you in that
I know.
realm.
I need the commercial salon ladies to get me going over there. But it's the same thing. The same thing is true for commercial too. It's that good connection. So we have several connections at marketing agencies, and it's that one connection that has helped us get, however many jobs it will be. So
It's so true. Your connections are everything.
mhm,
Everything. That was kind of my dream for Lancaster Photography School, was to help
mhm,
people connect with other people and start making those connections and meet the people. And, now they know about you, so they can reach out to you with questions and things like
yeah,
that
yeah.
too.
And that's where it's like you were talking before, like if you can provide so much value that it feels, if you provide enough value, people will give you their connection. Really.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
that was my approach from the beginning, is like, how do I get a business to start? How do I because nobody knows me. So like if nobody knows me, how do they hire me? And so my approach was, I was at a pretty low price point for my first 2 years. And a lot of people want to come in, they want to charge top dollar, and I want to have this. And like I had a pretty low price point. And
Mhm.
I was pretty conservative on raising my prices until I felt like I had provided. So that's how we did so many jobs. It's not like everybody, like, I was a pretty low price point because I was like, I can't sell to somebody who doesn't know who I am. So more people need to know who I am. I need to get more jobs. And so that
Yes.
was my approach. Now you can do it. There's many approaches. You can go the Tesla approach and charge top dollar for something and then bring it down progressively like Elon did. But there's all kinds of models, but that's the way I did it.
Yeah, it's the way I did it too. Very
Mhm.
much.
Yeah.
I charged what I felt I was worth, which wasn't a
Yeah.
lot in the beginning because I didn't know
Sure.
anyone.
Exactly.
I
You're
didn't
figuring it out. Yeah.
figuring it out. Yep. You're
Mhm.
having some leeway for mistakes and things like that. And the more
Mhm.
experience you get, and I always say the busier you are too. So at the point where, I can't fit in as many weddings as people would like me to shoot, I start raising my prices is
Right. Right.
the
And
model.
it kind of offsets. Yeah.
Yeah, no, you never say no to a wedding, do you? Have you ever said no?
I no, I do say
Ever?
no to
Have
weddings.
you?
I do say no to weddings. We occasionally get, like, there usually ends up being like one date a year that I feel like I get 10 inquiries for,
Mm, yes.
and I'm like,
10,
no,
10, 20, 20. Remember that day?
no, no, I can't do that many. But like, I mean, I do have set prices, and there are sometimes people want to negotiate, and I don't negotiate as much anymore. So no, but yes, we do a good bit. And if people want to, I like, if people want to hire us and they're happy to pay it, great, we'll do it.
Yeah. The thing I love about your business is that whether we get your smiling face on wedding day or one of your team, they all are excellent. And you do such a good job of training your team that
Thank
I
you.
always know
Very
that I'm
kind.
going to get the Shawn Fisher team, whether it's
Very
you or
common.
somebody else. You know, they all know the drill. I never have to worry about working with anyone from your team. So
Good. Good. Thank you. That I love that. That's encouraging to hear. I don't know I mean I don't get to hear that from like your side as often. So I that's great. I appreciate that.
yeah, and I like to tell them too when I work with them. So, but what is your favorite part of working on a wedding day? Knowing that you do so many a year, what is it that you love so much about weddings? Or maybe you don't, and it's just Shawn
Man, this
doesn't
man
have to
needs
know.
to go. He needs to get out of here. Um, so, and this is what I communicate to our team, and it truly is why I'm doing what I'm doing, and I really feel value in it. Uh, we exist to create moments for families, and I get really excited to showcase special moments between a sister and a bride, between a mom and a bride, between a dad and a bride. Whoever that family member is. I just think it's so special. So for me personally, so I have three sisters, three older sisters. And my mom jokes that you grew up with all women and then you found a career that was hanging out with women all the time. It's just like what you do. So my one sister got married in 2015, and she asked me to film her wedding, and I filmed her wedding. And it was funny. We were at a family dinner, and she's like, I'd really like to have a video. I was like, oh yeah, I can film your wedding. So I filmed her wedding, and then we kind of had like a family get together, and we watched the video. And the families, around on the couches around, and everybody's so happy. Some people are crying. There's lots of joy, and it was such a special moment to be able to create, these moments for my family. And so then the same thing happened in 2016. I and let's just got married, filmed her wedding, and got to watch it with her, and see her and her now husband, in tears as they're watching it. And I just think it's so special. Like, what more in life is there than the relationships of your family and the people that are closest to you? And so I feel like if I can bring people closest together, and I can closer together, and if I can bring people closer in relationship, I just think that's so valuable. And so yeah, I live, and what we do is we create moments for families. And so I get really excited to do that.
And I think that mentality is why I love working with you so much, among many other reasons. But
Sure.
I think we approach the day in the same way with that mentality of family first and the connections. It's not just about pretty bride and groom videos slash photos, and like upping your portfolio. It's not about that. It's about every single person that showed up that day is there because they know and love that person.
Mhm.
And they all have a connection to them, whether they're in the wedding, whether they're parents of the party, or whoever. They all have some kind of special connection, and having the ability to show that for the generations to come is just such a gift. I always say, understanding perspectives on the day is the key. Like that's the key to everything.
Yeah,
You have to be technically sound, you have to know the video, you have to know the
sure. Know
photography.
what you're doing.
All
Yeah,
those things are very,
absolutely.
very 100% important. But what will make you great is really seeing dad's face and understanding, that that's his little girl getting married. He's raised her from an infant, holding her in his arms, the day she was born, and now she's going off and getting married. Like that's a very loaded day for so many people, and helping them through it, not just taking the pictures, but actually leading them through the day is just such a cool thing to be able to do. And I
Yeah.
always know that you're looking out for those things too. So it really helps.
Yeah. And two things. So one of the things that, if you don't know Megan, or you haven't seen her work, or you haven't worked with her before, Megan is like, she is one of the best encouragers you will meet in life. And so she is so positive and so fun loving and so joy filled when she's working with her clients, that what it does is it puts everybody kind of at ease. Because sometimes in the morning of the wedding, there can be a little bit, there can be stress, there's details you're managing, there's logistics, there's all the things happening. And then also there's a part where a lot of people aren't sure how they feel about being in photos and videos, because this is not a common thing. And now I'm in front of a camera. And what Megan's encouraging voice does, it kind of puts everybody at ease. It puts the family at ease, and they can relax and be themselves, which I think is so valuable. The second part that I want to say to what you were saying is that from a video standpoint, There really isn't many times, if ever, in life that people have a video made about them.
Mhm.
And so, like a professionally made video about them. And so it's something that's, I feel like, is so unique, and you want to do it in a caring way, in a way that represents them well. And I always say too, for our clients up front, like, I want to represent you well. So if there are things that you love about my work, please let me know. Are there things that you're like, I don't really like the way this is portrayed or this looks or all that kind of stuff? I say let me know, because I really want to make this video of you very special.
Yeah. I always, I, for me, when I'm blogging, which is very similar to like what you're doing with the highlights or, the whole video really, but,
Yeah.
like party dancing at the end of the night,
Mhm,
everyone takes that so differently.
mhm.
Um, I'm always trying to portray people in a very positive light. So when things start getting sloppy at the end of the night, I tend to, well, I mean, I'll still be shooting, but I don't
Yeah,
include maybe all of those photos necessarily.
yeah,
But there are
yeah.
some clients who love that stuff and they want it all. So understanding your clients, and it sounds like you do a really good job of talking to them about what they're looking for. Do they want crazy party dancing in their video, or would they rather keep it a little nicer and a little tidier?
Yeah, yeah, there's mixed feelings on that for sure.
Yeah, we see a lot at the end of the night.
We do. We do. Yes.
So, I mean, I guess on that note, what is your least favorite part of shooting weddings? I know that's a hard question to answer, but I'm just curious what your
Least
least
favorite part. Not that it's like a part that I don't like, but there's been like an evolution of like trends that have
Mhm.
happened throughout the years. And some
Mhm.
things I'm like, oh, this is cool. And some things I'm like, oh, that makes my life harder.
Yes.
So I do not think the events themselves are bad, but I think they're like, oh, this makes how I film this, or the logistics of how I film this, harder. Um, so I would say, like, one of the big trends that's come around recently is like the last dance, and I think it's very special for the couple. But for usually what that means is everybody leaves the space at the end of the night. The couple has a final dance by themselves in a room with nobody else in it, and they're all getting ready for a sparkler send off or something outside, which is great. One of the challenges that it presents for us is that we also need to prep for that sparkler send off, but we also need to be in here. And
Mhm.
so the logistics of back and forth of doing that can sometimes be challenging, because like, oh, I need this to be well lit, but I'm also going to put my lights out there because they're going to come out right away. And so there's a couple of those kind of trends that have kind of happened. I would say the other one is, once again, I think this makes total sense, and it's super easy and it's logistically easy. But a lot of couples recently have been liking to do their vows right after the first look, which is
Mhm.
great. But we shoot our first look completely differently than how we would shoot vows. And so we have to change really quickly. And we're happy to do it. There's never a problem to do it. But sometimes logistically we're like, okay, well, we gotta move quick, and we're gonna adapt, and we're gonna do things a little differently. So
Yeah, good point. Which kind of leads into some of the logistics of the day.
yeah,
And I really wanted to get into this for all the photographers listening. I know there are probably some people listening who are interested in getting into video, and that's what maybe why they wanted to listen. But for the photographers listening, I really want to talk through how we can work better with videographers.
sure,
I've been
sure.
very lucky that I've been working with Shawn since very early on in my career.
Yeah.
So he's kind of made working with videographers very easy, and has kind of, well, you've always been willing to answer all of my questions.
Uh-huh.
From day one, I've always been like, so what is this for you? And why did, like, and
Yeah.
do you want me to do this?
Yeah.
Can I talk? Can I not talk? Like, do you want me
Yeah.
to, like, do I have to be quiet? And you're just like, you can talk, Megan. It's okay. And like being really kind,
Yeah.
and helping me understand. But a lot of photographers don't ask, and a lot of videographers don't want to take the time to explain, and vice versa.
Mhm.
So I want to talk a lot about what the logistics are between what we're both trying to do on the wedding day and how we can do that better together.
Sure.
Um, Shawn and I do this pretty well together on a
Yeah.
regular, but
Yeah.
I know a lot of you are probably not quite there understanding what the videographer is trying to do. So audio.
Yes.
Audio is huge. So talk to us
Yes.
about that.
Yes. So audio on the wedding day is paramount. So there's obviously all kinds of different video styles. Some videographers like to include a lot of like natural, candid on the day of audio. Some people are just like, hey, let's find a cool, hip, trendy song and we're going to edit to that. And it doesn't make a big deal. But it's different for everybody. For us, we incorporate a lot of audio just because we think in 10 years from now, you're going to want to remember what that, best man, maid of honor, or what those meaningful vowels or all those kind of things meant. So one of the big things that I try to do to start the day, and this is huge, and whether you're a photographer doing this or a videographer doing this is important because I'm saying this from a video perspective. I don't know if other videographers do this or not, but the first thing I do when I start the day is I go to the photographer. I was like, hey, I'm excited to work with you. It's going to be a great day. We're excited to serve our clients. I'm excited to get to know more about you and your style and what you do. I also I don't want to be in your way because my guess is you have a vision and you have a lot of the logistics and details that you're managing, timelines, all those things. I don't want to be in your way. So if I'm in your way throughout the day, just literally let me know. I'm not offended. You can tell me we're cool. Like, trust me, I'm excited to work with you. That's the first conversation I had.
And
And
that's huge. That just like that
that
sets the
conversation,
tone. It sets the tone of we're gonna
that
work together.
conversation, because there's a lot of, I do feel like there's many photographers that have some like, oh, I'm working with a videographer, and that's fine. But it's one of our jobs, I think, as videographers to kind of set the tone to say, no, we're working as a team. And if you have a vision, I'm on board for your vision. Like, can I help you with that? And then also a thing that I don't really ever communicate, but I think is also valuable. I'm just trying to circulate through all the love languages, honestly. Is that in the first 15 minutes, I'm going to offer to do something for her. So, oh, she's moving the dress for details. Oh, can I get the dress for you? Can I take these details? Is there anything I can help you with? Can I help, throughout the day? If I can help, get bridesmaids or groomsmen, can I run and get those real quick so you can stay here and focus on your vision? Offering to do something, having that upfront communication is huge. I remember one time we had a wedding in Philly and the photographer was just not interested in us all day. They were like, we don't want you here, it's fine. And so we're out in Philly and we're walking all around and she's doing photos amongst the Philly and all that kind of stuff. And so she walks like maybe 20, 30, 40 feet forward and she keeps moving, but her bag was back there because she put it down because she was taking photos. And my second videographer graciously, carefully picked up her bag and gave it to her. Changed the whole day. The whole day was completely different. So learning to serve and learning to have that upfront communication is huge. And so that will go into like what Megan's talking about, audio. So for audio, what's important to us, so we take a lot of that audio that's happening in the day. So if there's like audio that's being spoken that's kind of in like story form or so if there's like gifs or letters or important audio that they're sharing about the couple or one another, that's huge for us. Just because as storytellers, we're trying to craft the story of their day, their love, their start of forever. And so getting really clean audio is great because just like for photography, lighting is huge. Getting your lighting dialed in is perfect. So videography is also the same. Lighting's huge. We just have one more component. We have audio. So video is essentially is if you can get your lighting and your audio good, your film's gonna be great. Really, you're gonna look professional if your lighting and your audio is good. But if one of those is off, you're gonna be a little bit of trouble. So that's why our audio is important. And Megan, you do such a gracious job of this too. So and it comes down to that upfront communication. And so here's what I even say, like when we're doing gifts or letters or things beforehand that we'll have a mic on them for, I'll even say to the photographers, hey, is it okay if they open it and read it to themselves? And then you can get all the photos you want to get, you can move all around. And then maybe I might have her read it aloud if I can just get video footage for that time. That way, I feel like I'm also giving you the first take. You're getting the first raw emotional reaction. And that way you can get everything you want. And then I can also get everything I want to. So it's trying to think through that scenario of like, how do we make sure that both people are successful?
And that's you being very gracious with that because in my opinion, something that's happening raw like that, I feel like the audio, the video is more important.
Hmm.
In that situation, if it was me, I would want you to go first
Yeah.
because you can fake a picture
Yeah.
much more easily than
There's
you can fake a video.
and I used to say it something like that, and then we just encountered a I don't want to say this in a mean way. We just encountered a number of women who more ugly cried, and they were just like, we don't want to see ourselves ugly cry. And so what happens is when they read it to themselves first, it helps to push through a little bit of that
Okay.
in the nicest way. In the nicest way. Because like some people can talk ugly cry nice, and some people it doesn't come out as nice. And so that's why I changed it up and why I do it like that.
Oh, that's a very interesting take. I like that.
Mhm.
I
So that's
wouldn't
why.
want to see myself ugly cry either. I
It's
think
just
that's the
sometimes it's
part,
tricky to talk when you're crying, right? So
but this is also why it comes in so handy that you have three sisters too.
yes, I've learned years and years of learning.
Yes. And you talked about lighting. So one thing that you taught me early on is that you guys probably like a little more contrast in your light than what photography typically, or at least my style of photography is usually looking for. We're a lot of times looking for that open shade. We want it to be all the same. We want even lighting. That's my goal is even lighting all around, but you kind of prefer a little bit more contrast. So photographers, if you can ask the videographer what they're looking for in lighting and also give them a turn. So anytime I'm done with a set of photos, I'll try to remember to always turn to the videographer and say, do you want anything here? Do you want to move them at all before we go on to something else? Is there something here that you want to do differently than what I did before we move on?
Hmm.
And they usually really appreciate that.
And you do a great job of that. You really do. And yeah, yeah, I would say that too. Because I mean, obviously, I do agree that being in a shaded environment, it definitely provides a much more even lighting on the face, and it helps to mitigate, definitely squinting or all those kind of things. There are some times at venues where it becomes a little bit more challenging to find the shade, whether there's not a tree or something like that. And so it's like, okay, maybe if we can backlight them, in a way that looks good, because obviously if they're looking right at the sun, they're going to be full on squinting. It's not going to work. And so yeah, it's good to have some flexibility there, and like as a well-rounded individual too, being able to shoot in different lighting setups. Like it was just because there was a time where I think I had a double header, and I worked with you and I worked with somebody else, and they were like freaking out all day that there wasn't shade,
Oh,
and it was like, I'm so sorry, like I mean, we can do this, are you okay with if we backlight it a little bit, let's try to. And then like we were working with you, we're like, okay, well, there isn't shade here, so let's find a good solution. And I also think having that mindset of like, I can work in any scenario and be successful.
yes,
Like I can
absolutely.
find a solution.
Yep.
If I really want it, I can find a solution.
Yeah, that's right. Um, So another thing I want to add to that
Yeah.
is adding movement. So for photography, it's just much easier if we can have everybody stay exactly still. It's so much easier for us. So if I'm not working with a videographer, we're not going to be moving much because it's just easier. Like we're
Sure,
literally
sure.
going to be holding hands,
Yeah.
taking a step,
Yeah.
looking at each other,
Yeah.
giggling a little, taking another step. But guys, when you're working with a videographer, in order to not have to do things over and over and over again, which gets annoying for the couple, add movement to your poses so that video can just get what they need around you rather than having to constantly switch back and forth who's leading the posing or whatnot. Sometimes, it just depends on like how swishy the dress is and things like that. But you always want to throw it over to the videographer. But if you can add movement to everything you're doing, so instead of just staying still like this, if you can kind of move back and forth or tell them the directions very quickly so that they're going from foreheads together to looking down to kiss on the side in, more of a fluid movement, the videographer doesn't have to take over then. And then things just
Right.
kind of happen
Right.
quickly, right?
Yeah, no, 100%. And God bless you for saying that. Having some type of movement is huge for us, and navigating, how to communicate, and a lot of that beforehand is that communication up front. Like, I don't know, I don't always do this, and I need to get back into it. I used to always say like, hey, I want to make sure you get all the photos you need, but do you mind if I take them for 5 minutes afterwards, and just so I can kind of post some things and get some movement things that I need. Having that communication is huge. I also think that what was I going to say? I lost it. Um, I'm sorry.
It's
Uh,
mid-season. We're all
I
tired
know,
now.
I know. Brain is working hard. So, but yeah, having that motion's huge for us, and yeah.
Yeah. As far as the kiss shot goes,
Mhm.
talk to me about the kiss shot.
Yes. So before the ceremony, once again, it's like communication. So I always say, hey, where do you want to be for when everybody's coming down the aisle? So that way we're not directly in each other's shots, so we have an idea, so we're both happy.
Mhm.
And then for the kiss, I always just ask, okay, so where do you want to be for the kiss? Where do you are you going to be at the end of the aisle? Are you going to be in the middle? Are you going to be the front? Um, and based on their answer, will kind of determine where I end up am. So if you're going to be in the front, I'm probably going to be right next to you. Um, Actually, in most scenarios, I'm going to be right next to you. Unless you're at the back, I'm going to be right next to you. And I'm just letting you know. And for me, that means I'm shoulder to shoulder with you. That
Mhm.
doesn't mean I'm taking 3 steps forward when the kiss happens.
Thank you so much. We really
so
appreciate that.
that's what that means. That means that doesn't mean I'm taking 3 steps forward. That means I'm literally going to be right next to you.
Yes.
Um, and I think that helps to mitigate a lot of problems.
Yes.
So
I've only had it happen one time ever, ever.
yeah.
I mean, most videographers and photographers are really kind and generous
Mhm.
and, understanding that we're all trying to get the same shot. But only one time it was a brand new videographer, and I don't know whether he realized after the fact that he wasn't close enough or not. But like right as they were going in, he literally walked right in front of me and down the aisle, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!" Thank goodness I had a second shooter get his secondary angle.
Yeah.
So we were
Yeah.
set up for that.
Mhm.
For me, if I have a videographer with me, I'm shoulder to shoulder, usually, just like Shawn said. And then I don't have my second shooter shoulder to shoulder with me also.
Okay.
Because
Sure.
generally speaking, if I didn't have a videographer working with me, my second and I are going to be shoulder to shoulder. I'm going to get the horizontal. She'll get the vertical. Like I'll get the horizontal overall. She'll get the zoomed in vertical, and we'll get 2 angles that way. But if there's a videographer, there's not room for that. We need space. So
Yeah.
Shawn and I just stand shoulder to shoulder, and then he'll either step off to the side as they recess and I move with them, or whatever he needs or whatever the videographer needs too. Because again, that's a movement shot. For me, as
Hmm.
long as I get them turned, cheering, taking a step or two,
Yeah.
then getting a secondary kiss at the end of the aisle,
Yeah.
I would rather see the videographer get the actual walk down through the people than having me get 5,000 shots of them walking step, 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 step
Sure.
the whole way.
Sure.
So, being skilled enough to get the right moment, but also know that
Yeah.
your shot's not always the most important. Um,
I think
get
it's
what
a
you need and then let somebody else get what they need too.
it's honestly like somewhat of a frame of mind too. Like I think from a you're talking about the videographer who stepped in front of you, and he very well might not have realized that he did that.
Mm,
And it's like, and I'm not trying to say that what he did was right, but the frame of mind to say like I'm skilled and I can do this. Because sometimes, depending on the personality, you can be so nervous and so like, that I need to get it, I need to get it, I need to get it. And that's true, but allowing yourself to just like it not to be quite as high strung, if that makes sense. Now,
mhm.
obviously, you want to get it and you want to get it to its perfection, but learning to work with other people in that perfection, having that mindset is huge.
100%. 100%.
So now I'm curious on your end too, Megan, working with other videographers, because I never work with other videographers at weddings. What is it like, or is there things that maybe you see that other people are doing well, or like I'm just curious, from your perspective.
So working with videographers, I love meeting new people, as you know. So I always think it's fun to work with other people. But just like we're trying to do with this whole series of helping people understand perspectives of all the different vendors, when I see a new videographer step on and they're not really aware of what we're all trying to do, same as a lot of times happens the other way around,
Yeah.
it's just really hard because we're all trying to do different things at different times. Now, in video and
Yeah.
photography, we're typically doing things at the same time. But sometimes, I'm like when I'm doing the flat lay, and I've joked around with you before because we're good friends now. So like you can talk to me while I'm doing the flat lay.
Yeah. Yeah.
But sometimes while I'm trying to do the flat lay in the morning, and for
Don't
a lot
talk to
of
me. No, I'm
don't
kidding.
talk to me while I'm trying to do the flat lay. I'm
I'm
trying to
focused.
concentrate.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
But they kind of like talk, 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 talk. And I'm like,
Uh-huh.
oh my gosh, I'm trying to work here. Just give me
Yeah.
a minute. Like just hang
Uh-huh.
on. Let
Uh-huh.
me focus.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so one other thing, generally speaking, guys, if you're not familiar with working with a videographer, typically the photographer gets there first, or if we get there at the same time, the videographer is doing like a drone shot of overall of the venue
Sure.
or like
Sure.
something like that. And we're doing the flat lay. And then usually the videographer is like coming in to work with the people, when we're doing that like robes cheers photo and they're getting dressed. So when the videographer comes in during the flat lays, they're usually like, they don't need a lot yet, right? So when we're doing the flat lays for video, if it's a newer videographer, they want to sweep every flat lay that we do. And that takes forever. What I like about Shawn and what his team does is I'll do an overall flat lay, and then I know to just get him when it's ready, and like the big one. So I always do the big one first, the one that has all the things. It's the best one. I do the best one first, and then I play from there. But I'll go get Shawn and say, okay, the flat lay's ready. I shot it already, and he'll do his sweep of that. And then he just doesn't like, he just lets the rest of it go. If the videographer is trying to like sweep every single flat lay that I do, it'll take what normally takes me 45 minutes already and go over an hour then, and it just takes forever.
And videographers, just for perspective, depending on what you deliver, obviously it makes an impact. But for what I deliver, creating a 5-minute highlight video, realistically, one, maybe 2 shots of that is going to be a flat lay. Maybe.
Maybe.
And so you don't, I've heard this complaint from other photographers too, where the videographer literally wants to do a sweep every time. And it's just like, it's just not necessary. It's really not. And I don't mean that in a mean way or to clients. And maybe it will be important to some clients. I've worked with a lot of clients for the past 9 years. I haven't found a single one that said, hey, I need more flat lay shots for video. For video. For
Yeah.
video. What I hear more is I want more shots with my mom. I want more shots with my girls or the guys or whatever. And that's where I'll be.
Yeah, the things that are just standing still that we're going to take pictures of, I mean, it's just kind of double duty to be taking video of it too. It's the things that I can't make come to life in my photos, like the actual words that were spoken. That's why I love what Shawn does with so much audio, because when it's just a slow motion of all of my poses, of all my pictures, I don't know. That's just me personally, but I don't know that adds a ton of value because they're already getting all those pictures that are just kind of moving in slow motion in the video.
Yep. I even say that I even will say sometimes to our clients for like family photos. There's sometimes we shoot family photos and sometimes I'm like, you're getting photos of this. This might not be the exact, kind of things that you're hoping for. And so there's a number of clients that I'll even tell, like, even for family photos, we're going to be getting reception details with cocktail hour, people hanging out, just because it doesn't translate from video to photo quite then what you're saying with a flat lay. So
right, because family photos, everyone's just standing there in a straight line.
Yep.
Smiling at the photographer.
And from a video standpoint, I'm filming people looking in a direction. Okay.
Yes. That's just like I don't need my second shooter to shoot that from the side. Like there's literally no reason for it whatsoever. Yep. We just don't need that.
Exactly. Yeah.
So we're getting close to time and I just don't want to take up too much extra of your time.
Sure.
For me, wrapping this up is just a matter of this is a team effort, guys. Like we are there to do a job. We all have a job to do, and every single person who comes to a wedding to do their job is important. We're all important. Video is important. Photography is important. The florist is important. The planner is important. Everyone's important to make this day come to life and to deliver what the couple is looking for. If they hired a videographer, Video is important. So you have to let them do their job.
Yes.
And communication is key. You just
Yes.
have to communicate with all the people you're working with. But when you're with a video team, they are literally shoulder to shoulder with you all day long. You are trying to get the same shot all day. So you have to work well together. You have to communicate and you have to let them do their job too. So,
And that goes both
yes.
ways. That goes both ways on our ends too, as videographers. Like, it's always communication up front is always better than communication afterwards.
Absolutely.
So it's high communication on the front of the day. And if you can get there early, that way you can even start some of those communication processes, get those in place. I mean, that's even better. So yeah.
And get to know each other. If there's a chance to sit down to dinner together, which doesn't always happen, you don't always get much time. But if you do, get to know each other, like we all have these different lives that we live at home. And that's where you really do start networking and getting to know each other. So you never know. Maybe you have like an Aunt Sue who knows this person and like, oh my gosh. And
Yeah.
it's a small world. So get to know the people you work with
and you might end up becoming good friends. You hang out every couple months. That might even happen. So.
Just like you and me, Shawn.
Exactly.
Tell them the story. Tell them the story of how we met. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. This is a good one. This is a good one. Okay, so
this is basically the opposite of the way you're supposed to.
No, this is the opposite of what I just said to do. And this is also a good lesson. So we were doing a wedding together. This is our first wedding together. So I pull into the venue. Megan's already there, I believe. And right as I pull into the venue, I got a message from my next door neighbor that love her, but she could be nicer. And and it was a pretty nasty message about something with the fence or like right next door or like something, our interaction. And to be honest, it was not. They're like, oh, this is not how I want to start the day. And so we go in, and Megan is the bubbliest, nicest person you've ever met in your life, as she always is. And I don't remember what I exactly said, but something effective. Good to meet you, but I could have been nicer. Like, it was like, oh, it's good to see you too. Which is the opposite of what I said to do. And then, like, I don't know, maybe it was 10 minutes later or something, I came up to her and I said, hey, I am really sorry. That's not me. I am not trying to be mean. I just got a message from a neighbor that really annoyed me. And I'm excited to work with you. And let's do this. It's going to be great. And so that was our first interaction. And she didn't run away. And we became friends after that, surprisingly. She was very kind to me.
Weren't you? I think you were filming Fet and Blanc like the next day, or it was like at least that week.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah, it was like very soon after, because I was like, oh my gosh, I just worked with him, and now he's shooting Fet and Blanc, and here I am.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
So, and I was like, I'm gonna take pictures of you. And Daniel,
even if you make a mistake, apologize. Who knows? You make a mistake, apologize. Be the bigger person.
And now I have to say, Shawn's one of my best friends in the industry, and just in general too. 1000%. So happy that you apologize for that rude, whatever you did. Honestly, it wasn't that bad,
so
guys.
sorry, Megan. So sorry.
He kicks himself so bad over that, but honestly, he wasn't really that mean. I would have never.
I could have been nicer. Well, I could have gotten myself close to reciprocating the excitement level that you had. Which honestly, on a regular basis, might be challenging for me, but I could have gotten somewhere closer.
No, guys, I am like ridiculously bubbly on wedding days because I get so excited about my job.
Yeah. And when your excitement level is that high and you're encouraging, I mean, it's a great recipe for your clients.
Wow. Thank you. It's so fun to work with you too. You're just the best.
Likewise.
So guys, if you don't have any questions, we're going to leave you to your day, and I will get this recording up. It'll be on YouTube. I'll share the link to anybody signed up. I will send you the link in your email, and it'll be in the PA area photographers group, and anywhere else. If you need it, just send me an email and I'll send it to you. Shawn, thank you so much for coming today. Can you plug all your things? Where do we get more Shawn Fisher productions in our lives?
Oh, thank you. Well, it was an honor being here. I'm so glad to be able to get the invite. So thank you. Plug is Shawn Fisher Production is my IG, YouTube, Shawn Fisher Productions, website, ShawnFisherProductions.com. Look up Shawn Fisher Productions. You'll find me.
And if you want a good like happy cry and like watching all the feels, if you need to feel the feels, just start watching his wedding videos, and It'll bring it right there.
That's literally how we get clients. We people hire us because they said, "You made us cry. Make us cry again." That's why we get hired.
In the best way.
Yes, yes, yes. Not in a bad way, but it was more like a, all right, my goal is to make them cry. Okay, let's go do it.
Hey, Luke, thanks for coming. Thanks for your
Yes,
message
thanks, Luke.
there. Yep, thanks for coming, and we'll see you all again the next time. Shawn, I'll see you at the next wedding.
Sounds good. Take care,
Bye.
guys.